Welcome again, everyone, to Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing, the Fawn Pod, the Fawn Cast. Happy to be back with all of our fondlings and fondlers out there today. And speaking of fondlers, Dan is here with us as well as Dave today for co-hosts as we talk about a lovely project from Marvel today. So we'll get to that here in just a minute. But now that they're both angry at me, let's see what they've been up to recently. Who would like to go first this evening?
Take it away. As I mentioned last week, it's just been keeping up with the series, White Lotus, The Pit, which I literally just got finished watching the most recent episode, and that continues to be very, very impressive. Reacher and Common Side Effects.
Nice. All right. Dave, you are muted, Dave.
Yes, I was. Sorry about that. Keep going with Severance, which the season finale will be next week. And based on last season's finale, it should be pretty incredible. But I'm not looking forward to it being over for a while. And then I'll also plug Marvel Champions, which is a Marvel card game that Dan and I both enjoy very much. I've been playing it's been on my table a lot this last couple weeks. It's got a new Agents of Shield expansion that's coming out. It's out for some people, not reached others, but I'm looking forward to that. So if you have any interest, if you're a Marvel guy and you like board games, card games, this is one that can be played with friends or played solo. It's very addictive to collect as much of it as you can. There's a lot of content out there and it's really enjoyable.
This is a physical game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a living card game, so you buy packs, but the packs always have like a set number of cards. You're always going to get the same cards in there.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so you're not like chasing rares or anything like that. It's just when you buy something, you know what you're getting.
Mhm.
Well, until recently, it was possible to just get it all, and now there's some stuff that's going out of print. It's kind of controversial within the community,
Yeah.
Hmm.
but it's all still available, and the stuff that's hard to get. There's plenty that's still easy to get that gives you
Mhm.
lots of good content for the game.
Nice. All right, cool. Not much on my end. I today actually was spending some time watching a film wherein Giancarlo Esposito was playing a bad guy and he was, trying to put some chicanery into some of our heroes in the film.
What a
But
crazy turn
that was
for
the
him to be playing a
Electric
villain.
State, so watching that on Netflix, but I heard he does that in some other films as well. Beyond that, I don't know, just family stuff's been going on, just been busy, and this weekend I'm taking at least eight, if not more, 10-year-olds paintballing in the woods. So this will be an experience. Of course, here in sunny Chicago suburbs, it's been like 80 and 70 and 60, and then the day we're supposed to go, which is Sunday, it's supposed to drop to like 30. So that's really fortunate. Looking forward to that lucky break of the weather. And
Who the fuck is trusting you to bring their kids into the woods?
I don't know, man.
That's
It's a pretty
not a
sweet
good
place.
idea.
Actually, we should check it out for like a man weekend. We'd have to have at least eight. I've never been there, but the kids are doing what they call low impact paintball, but they have regular paintball as well. I've never played paintball, I should point out as well, but
Oh,
they have eight zones set up out in the woods on this like huge 200-acre property, and like one is set up like dystopia, and one's like an old colonial farm, and like it's all these thematic it's the people actually that run one of the haunted houses, I think down at maybe Lockport, Hell's Gate, maybe one of the ones down there. But they have a huge paintball compound as well, apparently, with their prop
nice.
department doing work in other seasons. So
I'd be interested to see how you keep any kind of thematic setting when it's just like completely splattered with neon paint.
it's a great question. I don't
So
know.
you make all the neon paint one color. So like in the dystopian thing, it's all the
Yeah.
bright neon colors, and the colonial, it's all
Mm,
red.
yeah, that's a good question.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I also don't know what condition it's going to be in for March, but they're open year round, so
Well,
we'll,
I'm
we'll
happy to
see.
tell you that in the cold, the paintballs will like just bounce off and cause less bodily harm.
Really, they cause less if they don't explode?
No, that's a complete lie. It's
Oh.
actually worse. You don't want them to bounce. So good luck.
Excellent. Excellent. Love that. Thanks, Dan. All right, moving on here. All right, our topic tonight, I think we can get into it proper. This is a little late, but scheduling, and we had to, convince one of these guys to finally get around to watching the movie. No mention of who that is.
It
It's
was
not
Dave.
Dan. It's not Dan or I though. So, Captain America: Brave New World. What can we say?
We also would have
Nothing.
accepted New World
Podcast over.
Order.
Yeah, Captain America: Brave New World. Based off the classic novel by Aldous Huxley, this is Brave New World, wherein Harrison Ford plays the Savage. And no. So we know what this one is. This is the newest installment, I guess, in the Captain America series, although we do have obviously a new person with the helm of Captain America at this point, or not so helm, I guess, as this one
The
turned out.
shield.
The shield of Captain America, as they removed the cowpiece. But this has kind of been notorious, and as we're a little bit behind on this one, I feel like we can pretty much dive into any spoiler territory we want because anybody who would have seen this probably has by this point. In the polite circles, this movie has received some criticism, shall we say, since its debut. Currently trending with about a 48% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 5.9 on IMDb.com. Still has managed to bring in just shy of 400 million, though, at the box office. We could maybe touch on whether that is a success or a failure for a Marvel film, I guess, as we go through. But our returning cast here, we have Anthony Mackie as Captain America one more time, and we have already saw from the TV show Falcon and Winter Soldier, Danny Ramirez is back as Joaquin Torres. We have Carl Lumbly back as Isaiah Bradley, one of the old super soldiers. And
Black as Isaiah Bradley?
Black?
Back.
Did I say
Back.
black or
I
back?
think you said black as Isaiah Bradley. Roll the
Oh.
roll tape.
I'm not
Let's find
sure. Well, it is Women's History Month, Dave, so let's move on.
There you go.
Tim Blake Nelson. This was a fun one to have come back into the MCU as Samuel Stearns. Did they ever say he's the leader technically?
In the movie, no. They never
This
gave
is
him his
this is another one of
moniker.
these, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the TV show Daredevil we were just talking about too. Like they don't always use the names sometimes with these, but it's just choice. All right, and then joining them as our starring cast here, we have Harrison Ford making his MCU debut, taking over from the late William Hurt as Thaddeus Thunderbolt asterisk Ross. And then we have Giancarlo Esposito, as joked about earlier, comes in as Sidewinder. And also, I guess our last big one here would be Shira Haas as Root Bat Seraph, who is another character they're not using the comic name of Sabra.
Correct.
Which we can get into that controversy later as well if we want to. So that actually may have trended better now with the state of America in 2025. I mean,
Yeah, that one seemed to be a very, very good choice.
yeah. All right, well, let's get into this. We'll do just kind of a hyper quick plot overview here for what the movie has in it, but essentially we're going to kick this off with Thaddeus Ross. This is now Harrison Ford is the president of the United States. So we have a lot of people being elected in the MCU, it seems like these days, to new positions with Wilson Fisk in our Daredevil review the other day. And then we have basically Sam and Joaquin working for him. This is the new Captain America and Falcon. And we see kind of this opening scene here where it kind of establishes their relationship, and also they're sent to Mexico to take on Sidewinder with the completely nerfed Serpent Society in this film. So let's chat about this first. What's going through your head here? Do we like the new pairing? We saw them a little bit, I guess, in the TV show, which was not one of my favorites. It's about one of my worst MCU properties, period. I know Dave was a big John Walker fan, but everybody else seemed to not enjoy him so much. But
I like Johnny Walker, but not so much John Walker.
He might have less blood on his shield. But yeah.
I thought that Torres and Wilson had some good chemistry together. I actually liked that pairing. I'm glad that they gave Joaquin, is it? Joaquin, a lot more to do in this than they did on the TV show, even though a lot shorter runtime. I think he's playing the part well. He's a fun character, and I enjoyed their their friendship.
Yeah, I thought it was reminiscent enough of Steve and Sam, but like unique in
Hmm.
its own way. So I felt that was good. I also feel that the movie did a good job because there's three different like viewing angles or like viewing stories that people could be coming into this movie with. They could have seen nothing, so you have to explain it from the ground up. They could have just stopped at Endgame, so you know that like Sam has the shield,
Mhm.
but you don't
Yeah.
really know who Walking even is. And then yeah, you could
Yeah.
watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier so that you have some of that backstory. You know who these people are, and you're already ready to get into the flow. So that's kind of a challenge to weave all those into something coherent.
And if you've seen the Eternals, then you'll understand what the giant celestial is.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, then you'll be like, what the fuck? Is it seems like this has been a really important thing in the MCU, right? This
Mentioned
giant,
everywhere.
yeah, that's all they talk about.
All they'd mentioned, yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. I thought their camaraderie was also pretty good. It's also a new twist. Like it's a different dynamic between the two, like you said, from Steve and Sam, but also like the fact that Steve had, and this kind of comes into play through the whole movie, but Steve had that super soldier serum. So now we're seeing like a Captain America, and we already had a Falcon, I guess, that wasn't basically impervious to a lot of stuff. And now it's how they play that up going forward in the MCU, I think could be really interesting because now we have a Captain America who could, very easily die on any mission that he goes on if something goes wrong. Whereas, for a little while at least, Steve held his own against Thanos with the gauntlets. So we're going from quite a bit of power to no power
Right.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, I
All
was
right.
a little bummed that this, as Dan, as you mentioned a little bit before the show, like it really just Sam doesn't really have like a character arc in this one for being the main character.
Mm.
He just has some doubts about whether he should have taken the shield, and he has doubts about whether or not he should have taken the serum. And those are things that have already been gone. He already went through those. He already decided that he did the right thing. And so for that to be where his doubt lies or where his character still is was disappointing. I was hoping they'd give him something new to work with.
Yeah, especially when a storyline of like, well, people doubt I am Captain America, and it's less he has to prove it to himself or believe it himself. He has to like convince others that would have been a lot more compelling and a little bit meta at the same time.
Mm. Yeah, that would have been a good angle to go about this. Well, let's just get into the full weeds here right away, though, too. Like, is this a problem that is completely birthed from the fact that this is a Hulk movie but stars a new Captain America? I mean, that's how do you write a plot where you have a character journey for Captain America when he's in a plot with all of the Hulk characters?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of my summary of this movie is I went in expecting total garbage considering all of the production issues we had heard and coming out going okay, well it wasn't fantastic but at least it was coherent, but it was seems little patches of yeah, there's some Hulk here and there's Winter Soldier vibes over here. It felt like I could see the seams a lot more than most of the MCU productions.
Hmm. Yeah. Can we get an Isaiah Bradley recurring character in the MCU? Can we make that an
Oh,
official thing?
can you just imagine just a short series of like him in Korea and like the things he was going through? Like
Could be
what a
like a
fantastic story.
Agent Carter type show.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I was pretty smitten with that character, especially in the movie here. I mean, he was good in the TV show as well, but
Hmm.
here when they show him, I was like, yeah, this is like their Mr. Miyagi. So like this is, wax on, wax off. Let's train. Let's
Yeah.
do this, boys. Except I had the serum and you don't, so I'm going to kick your ass.
I was kind of dissatisfied with how he, at the end of this movie, was just kind of accepting everything that happened to him in this movie. Like, I rewatched Falcon Winter Soldier leading up to this, and he really didn't want anything to do with anybody. For him to even go to accept the invitation of the White House,
Hmm.
that seemed a bit unbelievable,
Yeah.
honestly. Um, and so at the end, when he's kind of like, yeah, I don't think he said anything along those lines, but his attitude seemed to be like, well, at least I'm out now. When really that should be like some villain origin story shit
Yeah.
for him to have been put in prison again after everything that he went through.
Hmm.
When he was explicitly saying that's the last thing he wanted at like the beginning of this movie. Like
Yeah.
it really like he had the worst arc in this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with what he goes through in the movie. I guess I was thinking more like on a much bigger time scale, but basically kind of a same shit, different day. Maybe he was just a little indifferent for like how the government's already treated him for 60 years, you know? So here he's just like, the government pulled me back in. They're screwing with me again on this one. Um, and I think Sam had to kind of convince him to do a lot in the movie, did he not? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, at
Yeah.
the beginning.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Well, Dave already hinted at. Let's go to that White House where we have leaders coming to the White House. This is going to be due to President Ross. That sounds weird to say. His discussion of Celestial Island, which I guess is this its new title? I don't know that I've seen it referred to as this, as such, but essentially is where adamantium has been found. And let's pause right there
Yeah.
because now we're going to have
Yeah.
adamantium officially in the MCU. They've kind of, I feel like, retconned a couple things with different origins of metals, vibranium, or whatever they're going to use here in the MCU. But now we have the rights to this. We're going to throw this in here. Obviously, Wolverine's probably the most famous example of adamantium. But we've already had Wolverine in a movie at this point too, which is also kind of
Yeah.
weird now. So, any thoughts on this?
Given adamantium's presence, immediately asks the question about mutants in the MCU, and obviously we know that that's coming in some form. It seemed like a really weird, out of the blue. Like it just it doesn't lead to anything else immediately. Like you said, it
Yeah.
references Wolverine, it references a couple other characters, but there's no way that you're like, oh, well, they have adamantium. Now I see the path of it. It's kind of like the underwear gnomes are like step two's missing. I don't see where it's going to go next.
Yeah.
I agree. I was hoping that it would have a payoff in this movie,
Hmm.
like somehow uh, Red Hulk would use it. I don't know if they would actually have time to fit that in any kind of feasible way, but
Or it was the
um,
key to defeating Red Hulk or
Yeah, like
something. I mean,
Sam's new wings are made
yeah,
of it or something.
yeah,
yeah,
it seemed like a
something.
MacGuffin that didn't pay off.
I completely agree with that. Yeah. Also, why is it called Celestial Island? They don't know what a celestial is. Like nobody who
It's an
nobody who
excellent
would have
question.
named it that knows what a celestial is.
They
It
had some
was
really good focus groups.
I
was
guess
all
so.
Kit Harington. He told them right after he looked at the ebony
Right?
blade, he let everything leak. The dark saber. No, it's a different property. Never mind. Um,
Also, Giancarlo Esposito.
Interesting. Yeah. Boy,
Plot thickens.
he's a well paid dude these days. Yeah, all right. Well, yeah, it I always think it's weird to me. Like I know the giant hand and the head sticking out of the ocean seems to be like most people's sticking point is like nobody's going to talk about this or like it's just on the scale that it is sticking out of the ocean. Like, but I've always kind of been more focused on like how was something like moving from the center of the earth and that didn't have like the impact of like gravity or the core or like everything else being thrown off.
It's a
Right?
great point. Great point.
He's just like busting through the mantle and the crust and everything, and
At a
it's
minimum, it
fine.
changes some
It's
some
fine.
weather patterns or something. Like
Yeah,
what the
right.
hell?
Also, what is the adamantium exactly in this? We don't find out for sure, do we? Because like they're fighting over these tiny samples in the movie. And at first I thought that I really thought like the island was going to be made of adamantium. That was going to be the twist, but apparently that's not it. So it must be like the Celestials optic nerve or something is adamant. Like I don't
Right?
know.
Blood or something. Yeah, it's vague enough where it again makes the adamantium like name drop like feel less significant because you're like, why? Like, what's the next piece of this? So it really and that is probably a theme we're going to keep talking about. Is it feels like it was a major part in some edition or version of this that like didn't make it all the way through.
Yeah.
I'm just going to headcanon that the whole thing is made out of adamantium, but it's such a strong material that it takes so much energy and effort to
Hmm.
slice it off of there that they only have tiny little bits.
You can only chip off adamantium using other adamantium. That's the trick. Unless you have an adamantium drill, you can't get the adamantium.
Hmm.
And there was
If
one booger in the Celestial's nose that they managed to pull out.
if only
That'll
they had a character that they recently introduced that was all about like finding interesting metals on Earth,
Hmm.
meaning Riri Williams in Wakanda Forever, like that would have
Thank
been a
you. It's
nice
taken me a
name
minute.
drop.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is all. Yeah, I'm glad you brought her up though, because like when I was watching this, the first thing I was thinking of was like, now that we have adamantium, like that's definitely got to shift the Wakanda plot, right? Because vibranium
Yeah,
is not this huge advantage they have anymore in the world.
I
Where now
appreciate
there's
them
this like
being name
second metal.
dropped. But you would think that this would be, that was always something really interesting in the comics, was kind of like, how does Wakanda get interested? And you're exactly right. Like this is upping the arms race when it comes to like their super rare unique metals. Why aren't they showing up?
Hmm. Yeah. Are we to believe that one is? I mean, I don't think they have established is one stronger than the other in the MCU version. We just haven't
No.
seen them really interact yet, right?
Although,
So
yeah, they haven't seen them interact. I want to say Ross mentioned something where it's like better than vibranium in his little speech he was given.
that sounds right. Yeah. And there is an Ironheart show still scheduled, I believe, at some
And so
point.
that's my
So
understanding. I know they filmed that, but I haven't heard any cancellations yet.
I wonder if we will see this heavily into that as well, then with the metal focus. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, so I'll bring up Iron Wars, but that's even more unknown in terms of like its actual status.
Yeah. All right. Where did we leave off? At the White House. We're at the White House. Yes. Oh, so there is some sort of a sonic, I don't know what you want to call this, reaction that's happening to people as they hear the song Mr. Blue play. This is causing Isaiah Bradley to go crazy, shooting at the president, etc. And then we see a new character here as well. This is the aforementioned Ruth Bat Seraph, who has basically had her story changed into being a former Black Widow, which I thought was a good use of pre-existing MCU stuff. So this is a character named Sabra in the comics, essentially, who is like an Israeli agent for their intelligence agency, Mossad. And there was a shitstorm of media stuff that came out when they were going through the making of this movie. This was, if you recall, very close to the time period where we had Israel and Gaza start all of the stuff in the Middle East, and the fact that they were going to be Disney pushing an Israeli superhero, although she's not really a superhero here, more of a super character, um, at a time period where Israel may or may not have been doing some questionable things and having some terrible things happen to them back. And there was a pretty big pro-Palestinian push at that time too. I will say now, as kind of referencing earlier, I feel like the overall, especially with Trump in power now, that has kind of shifted back to maybe a little more pro-Israel than it was at the time they were filming this. So it would have been, in retrospect, maybe not as bad if they had left the story the way it was in the movie, but either way, either way. Um, we could definitely see her later here too, but what were your impressions of that character in the movie? Was that a performance that enthralled you, or was it just a character you didn't feel like really needed as much screen time as they had, or was it even a character you felt like got enough screen time to be a character?
It again it felt like there was a script with a whole lot more, which like you're
Mm,
saying, like it was so palpable, you could so feel it. What was left in, I guess I'll describe, was fine. It just didn't make a big impact.
I thought she performed well with for what she was given. Like I believe the character. I was a little distracted by how tiny she is. Like she's genuinely just seems like a very
Yes.
small person. But good for Disney for not uh deciding that every superhero needs to be big and bulky, or I don't know. But I was honestly distracted by that. It's like I'm trying to think who in the MCU is shorter. I was like Peter Dinklage, then Shira Haas, and then everyone else.
Rocket. Yeah, no, and
Yeah,
they
there you go.
Baby
it also
Groot.
seemed Yeah. It was an odd choice. They did have a lot of like silhouette shots of her too, where you can like very distinctly see how tall she was compared to everyone else.
Yeah, yeah. I wish we had seen more of her fighting because I think
Yeah.
I remember there only being one scene and a very brief one at that.
Yep.
And if she's
Hmm.
ex-widow, then she's got some skills that would have been fun to bring to the screen a little better.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree with the sentiments you guys all said. We should point out they did at least cast an Israeli actress for the role, even though they didn't go into that in the movie, but they at least kind of stayed true to the
Yeah.
comics there. So good on them for that. I actually had to do a double take. Have you guys seen on Netflix either Fall of the House of Usher or Midnight Club? There's an
Nope.
actress in that I thought was this actress. Like I actually got my phone out towards the end of the movie and I was like, am I looking at the same person or not? And it's not, but
What's
look,
that actress's name?
the other actress?
Yeah.
Great question. I'll have to look it up while we're going here. I actually don't know.
Because I kept thinking
Name
it
is.
was, I'm going to mispronounce this, Leah Seydoux, who I've seen in a few things, and this actress looked kind of like her, and I thought, is that who this is? But it was not, obviously.
Okay. I'll keep on that while we're in the background here. Okay, let's see here. We're gonna get some investigation happening next, where we will have Wilson, and this is where we get probably what I recall at least was our best fight with Captain America and Sidewinder, Giancarlo Esposito's character. This is kind of like, if I recall, in between some cars and stuff on a smaller scale, I
Hmm.
think.
Like in a church.
Yeah, and this was again, I thought he could have again been an interesting character, Sidewinder, had the movie had more time for him to do a little bit more than he did. At best, I think we left the movie with him kind of, was he in prison at the end of the movie? He was captured,
He was
right?
going to prison, had negotiated where he would be going to prison,
Yeah.
and
Mm,
promised Sam that he will get out and kill him. And it's
there you
like,
go.
well, maybe that changes the deal that we just negotiated. You know what
Maybe
I
we,
mean?
I really enjoyed the crap out of the dynamic of the like they're almost like coworkers. They're just on different sides of it. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna do this again." Like I would have loved if they would have like leaned in heavier to that. Like, like Sidewinder, this is the fourth time I've caught you. Like it's like, yeah, but you're
yeah.
not good at keeping me or something like it would have I could have used some more banter there, especially for my understanding is that character was added entirely during the reshoots. Like he was not in the original version of the film. So
Seriously?
that's
Yeah,
my
I heard
understanding.
that too.
Okay, that's wonkers because was the Serpent Society in the original version then? Or were they villains that were added in the reshoots? Because I know there were at least two characters who shot scenes as members of the Serpent Society who had all of their scenes
Right.
removed from the movie. So
My
it,
understanding is that Sidewinder replaced them, essentially.
oh, okay. So they like took out a lackey villain crew and replaced them with just the one character
I wonder why.
who
I
was
wonder
also from that
what
villain
was
crew.
wrong
Yeah, I don't
with
know.
it. I don't know.
Maybe they just thought it was too much to shove in one movie, and they were like, "We should take this one out."
There's like I'd loved if they were willing to like put out the different versions of this just to compare and contrast. It's
Ooh,
almost
that'd be
like a
fun.
film school exercise to be like, oh, okay, I see why we cut here in this.
Yeah, original cut, director cut.
Exactly.
That's
I
what I
love
want
it.
most for Morbius. I feel like the movie Morbius is the one that I would most like to know all the different versions of because I
Interesting.
that went through some really crazy changes.
I still haven't seen that. I'll have to watch that sometime.
Madam Web too.
I haven't seen that either. I don't think I think I've seen maybe like
Oh, we should
Venom,
watch Madam Web together. It's
Venom 1 and
so
Venom
wonderfully
2, I
bad.
think I saw. I think that's all I've seen of the whole. What else is there? Craven and
Craven and Venom 3 is
Venom
on
3 I
Netflix
didn't
right
see.
now.
Okay.
You got to watch Madam Web. It's so amazingly bad. I love it.
All right, I'm just gonna put this out there live on the air, and I shouldn't because it's gonna come back to haunt me. But when Madam Web was like getting previewed, like with trailers, my wife was like, "We should go to that," and I was like, "I'd really rather not." Mostly, I mean, just because of the word of the street was so bad for it. And she was like, "Well, I think it's important to go and support female-led superhero movies also." And I was like, "Yeah, but this one, like, I don't know." We didn't end up going, but I was almost thrown to the wolves on that one. Just putting that out there. All right.
My mom told me, I have a quick story too. She told me, hey, I finally watched one of those Marvel movies the other day. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Which one was it? She said, Madam Web. I was like, oh God. Oh no. And I really, really wanted to like mansplain to her
Yeah.
everything about how that's not real. And I don't know. Oh my God.
Hey, well, now the bar set really low. It's all
That's
up from
true.
Yeah.
there.
That's true.
You should just say that's the worst one. The rest are better, and then go from there. Be like, that's from the DC universe, Mom. We're moving on. Uh, all right. We are, yeah, as mentioned here, tracking down. They find some place called Camp Echo One, and this is where we're going to get the connection, apparently, from President Ross, who realizes that Dr. Samuel Stearns, aka the unnamed leader, is the one behind the attacks here. Apparently, I don't know, was Ross like just that dense that he thought this guy was never gonna like want revenge on him, or I don't know what's going on here, but essentially we're gonna come to find out, right? Stern's basically been keeping Ross alive, and that's kind of been the what am I say here? The words escaping me, but the reason why this guy's still alive, period. But he's been a prisoner at this place, Camp Echo One. What did you guys think of the revamped leader profile out of curiosity as well? We don't get that traditional
Oof.
giant noggin comic
Yeah.
version of him.
Then we get the half-eaten lima bean head. It's definitely a choice, and I can see why, because I can't imagine that elongated schnoggin would really look that great on film. But
Be like Corey
this
Stoll playing a giant Modoc.
yeah, right.
Hey guys.
Uh,
Didn't he have the start of the giant head at the end of Hulk? Didn't we see
yeah,
it
there's like
Yeah,
a
which is
giant
also
larger
lapel.
than it is now?
yeah,
Well, maybe
Yeah,
it's just deflated. You know.
there you
yeah.
go.
I mean, I thought he looked I thought he looked actually okay with like the bubbly head, but I actually did really enjoy him as like kind of a creepy serial killer type character in the MCU
Yeah,
because he was like, he always had the hood on, he was in the shadow a lot, and like it just felt very different than anybody we've seen in in the universe. So presentation wise, I actually liked him quite a
yeah,
bit.
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree with that, and I thought Tim Blake Nelson did a good job with the performance. I did think that his whole brainwashing thing was just too plot convenient. It
Mm.
just affected anyone at any point when it was convenient and then
whatever
didn't
ones he
affect other
wanted.
people. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That was a bummer.
it really. This is where the plot holes start. They're big enough to fly a celestial through. So it's
All right. Well, more to come on that, but let's keep
Yeah.
going here. We are now having essentially, long story short, we're going to the scene outside Celestial Island where we now have Japan versus the United States in a giant naval and air standoff of massive proportions where we're going to get some fun set pieces here with Wilson and Torres kind of doing the like typical fly up to the Japanese pilot and like be like, turn off your engine type stuff. But what do you guys think of this giant scene?
uh, Top Gun in the MCU. It was different. It was interesting, and it really took advantage of your hero's skills, like in a way that most of the other heroes couldn't. So I was honestly, it was probably the most enjoyable single scene in the movie for me.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It was a lot of fun action. You you knew something was going to happen to Torres based on the don't die recurring thing. But it was still good. I like that Sam kind of had the choice of like go help Torres or go, do the
Hmm.
mission, and that he made the quote unquote right choice. That just gave him a good little character decision there. Uh, yeah, the action was good. The diplomacy of it all between the two countries was both simultaneously like a little hard to follow and a little unrealistic, but I don't mind that. It was the action was fun enough to make up for it.
I feel like you're judging them based on a world you live in wherein a giant head and hand haven't popped up through the ocean.
Fair enough.
Sadly, that's the only perspective I have.
Okay. Is that sad, really? I mean,
Let's see what we can do to fix that, gents.
Yeah.
got enough stuff going on. I don't know about that. Here we go. All right, this is where we're going to get the backstory of what's going on with President Ross. Officially, I guess I jumped the gun here. He has heart failure. Stern's keeping him alive. It would be quite something, though, if Stern was also putting something else into Ross at the same time. I don't think that happened. But let's just keep going here. Hey, how about Bucky Barnes' appearance?
Great
Uh,
cameo. I mean, that's the kind of thing I sign up for.
Absolutely. And I liked it, except for the fact that he's becoming a congressman.
Mhm.
That feels so counter to the character. I was honestly shocked. I don't love
Uh,
that at all.
if they don't, it's going to be really rough if they don't give a little bit of time to that in Thunderbolts.
Mm-hmm.
Like they need to. I can see that in terms of like, oh, I tried to, I had to learn to deal with myself, and I decided that I need civic service. I can help a lot of people by like making sure things are taken care. Like I can see angles where you can justify it. It's got to be there. They can't just graze over it.
Yeah, I said we kind of chat on some connections later, but several people I think have pointed out that like in the Thunderbolts trailer, he's the only character like not in his costume, his superhero
Mhm.
costume. So
Mhm.
like connecting this point A to that, is it going to be like, they pull him from Congress, like he's elected, and they're like, you go on this mission with them because you have experience with this type of stuff, or is it going to be completely different? I don't know, but it did feel a little weird. It almost felt shoehorned because it was about Sam, but I didn't mind it as well just because they had a good relationship. Like if somebody else random had popped up, that would have probably not worked so well for me. But
I feel like
that's,
he needed to be in the movie at some point. And
yeah,
so I'm glad that he was.
Yeah,
I agree. Also, where was he at the end of the movie though? Huh? It could have helped. Just saying. Just putting that out
it
there.
definitely could have helped.
For
Could have used
sure.
that
Definitely,
arm,
definitely could have helped.
He was probably in DC already, you know?
right?
Yeah, probably this is not some meeting you couldn't get out of. That's probably it. All right, let's get to Stern being arrested at the end here, and finally at a press conference wherein they're using like loudspeakers essentially to make President Ross as angry as possible. He is going to turn into, wait for it, you guys, this is the surprise of the movie, Red Hulk.
What? Oh my God.
I know. Now, me being colorblind, it just looked like Hulk, but I'm joking. I'm joking. Not about being colorblind, but
Yeah,
let's talk about it.
I truly disliked how spoiled that was. Like, it's not you, there's no avoiding it. It's on the poster,
Oh
it's
yeah.
on the trailer. Like, even you see in the trailer, which I watch sparingly, I really try to avoid them if I can. I don't know. You know that his whole big attack happens at the White House. So when he's on the submarine and he's just like edging basically
Yep.
like you know that nothing's going to happen and it ruins the tension that they're
Mhm.
that they're trying to build there.
Yeah.
I really wish that had been, I don't know, obviously anyone who knows the comics knew what was going to happen, but for the casual viewer I think that would have been a better surprise.
Yeah, or like, what am I trying to say? Finding a better way to build it up versus like kind of spilling all the beans there. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder how much of this was eh, the production issues. Again, I keep bringing this up, but I
Hmm.
wonder how much of that was kind of them going like, there's enough going on. There's so many reshoots. So again, I would love to see the original version just to see like, was it a little alluded to, or was this the big third act surprise that they're trying to keep under wraps, and after a certain point they probably just said forget it, like there's no hiding this, like lean into it.
Yeah, I am 100% with you, Dave. When I walked out of the movie, I asked my family how they liked it, and they told me, and I said, this movie, whatever your rating of this movie is, would have gone up at least a solid one, if not more, if they had kept the Red Hulk as a surprise.
Yeah,
Like
I
seeing
agree.
him like like you said on the edge or edging, if you will, just having that moment, like you're like, "Ooh, what's, and there had to be people in the theater who didn't know the comics also. So to just be like,
Yeah.
For
oh,
sure.
like what's going to happen to this guy? Like what's, the leader did something to him and is going to come out of him quickly. And then like the transformation, like that's the movie is like this guy turning into the Red Hulk. And Marvel put themselves in such a position with this film, the way the plot is set up, that they can't win. And this is like my single biggest thing, I think, because here I am going into the movie theater and I stop at the concession stand and I'm picking up my box of candy. And on the shelf next to it is like plushes of the Red Hulk for sale. And I'm
Hmm.
like, because he's their number one sell
Yeah.
point for merchandise for this movie. Like, sorry, Captain
Yeah.
America, it's going to be the squishy Hulk or the new Hulk hands that everybody is picking up at the
Yep.
store or whatever. So you like can't have him be the surprise, but like that's what the film is this guy changing into that and becoming this terrible villain.
It's
Um,
kind of ironic. You can compare it to Winter Soldier, where, like Dave was saying, the comic fans knew Winter Soldier was Bucky, but
Yeah.
that film managed to keep it for the casual fans until the big reveal at the end, and then it all comes rushing in. Like it should have been set up that same way. It should have had roughly that same impact, but it didn't.
it's such a catch-22 because I do feel like they would have lost millions on marketing without advertising that that character was in the movie. But by advertising that character's in the movie, they like destroyed how well that movie is going to do, I think. So it's like they're adding to one pot but subtracting from the other pot. And then additionally, like I even was thinking about like even if they had kept this creepy version of like the leader more confidential, like that also could have been a really interesting thing. Like, who is this guy that's in the shadows and wearing this cloak and stuff? And we don't see him, for quite a while. But again, like everybody kind of knew he was in the movie
Yeah.
ahead of time. So maybe, like Dan said, maybe it was kind of all leaked and they just were like, fuck it, this is what we got. This is what we got put out at this point, which is probably true. I mean,
Yeah. And I remember being in the theater, and at this point in the movie, I was like, "Oh, this is probably the last of the like Marvel didn't have their hands entirely around this production." Because it feels like some of the recent MCU movies, maybe with the exception of Deadpool, Wolverine, they just like they didn't have as clear of a plan, and things were kind of like getting in a hand. They weren't managing things as well, and this seems like the last thing that eked out before they kind of got more creative control back on things.
I hope so. Definitely hope so. What do you guys think of the let's call it the cherry tree fight? I mean, it's a beautiful scene. So Falcon
What
versus Hulk.
what is Sam Wilson's problem with DC? Like every other movie, he's destroying parts of DC. I don't get it.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, the Washington Monument has taken a beating twice now in the MCU.
Yep.
That's also true. Yeah.
I I liked it. I like that the
If I can interject, I'm just laughing because the only time I've been to DC, the Washington Monument was under reconstruction, so
Oh, that's
I didn't
funny.
actually get to
That's
go by
funny.
it. Now I know why.
I liked that there were kind of two separate arenas, the White House and then this island with the cherry blossoms. Um, I thought it was a little confusing how when they got to the cherry blossom island, Sam was like, "Look, cherry blossoms, Betty, can I bring you back at all?" And Red Hulk was like, "No, punch, 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 punch." And then in the end, Sam was like, "Look, cherry blossoms, Betty. How about now?" And Red Hulk was like, "Oh yeah, actually, shit, you're right. Okay, never mind." Um, that that didn't make any sense to me. Was there something I missed with that, do you think?
Yep. I think you missed the edits that were going on. And that's the summary.
Oh,
And
that's funny.
that I know, Corey, earlier you talked about like the CG too, and that was the one where like the CG, like it shifted enough, you can be like, there's an edit, there's a reshoot. Like you, like it
Oh,
just,
really? I
yeah,
don't think I picked up on that.
yeah, there was like the lighting on Sam changed in certain parts where I'm like, okay,
Oh,
that's a
wow.
reshoot and that's not. So I think that like again, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt because it wasn't entirely abysmal, but like the
What a
scenes
review,
were
folks. You
showing.
heard it here.
I thought the CGI in Red Hulk was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
Maybe you'll disagree with me. I thought it looked like a Hulk version of Harrison Ford in a
Yeah.
very fun and
yeah,
convincing way. So I like that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. This one, I mean, seemed to be. I'm not somebody who usually picks up on CGI, as I just said in our Daredevil episode, but this one seemed to be a little um, like we had two artificial entities fighting in an artificial environment in this particular scene. It was still beautiful in its own way. Like the cherry trees was a great thing to go with for like a background visage, I thought, but
Yeah.
um, that was whatever it was, I guess. Okay, well, we all thought Liv Tyler was going to show up in this movie. She doesn't, so let's skip past that and just wrap this up. Just kidding. I'm not a big Liv Tyler fan, but here we go. Um, let's take a look at how this all ends, I guess, so we can kind of look towards where the future goes at this point. I guess starting with, do we know for sure? Well, I guess Ross, yeah, he resigns, I guess, so we don't know who the new president would be in the MCU then, I guess, at that point, huh? What if it was
whoever
a
his vice president is, which
what if it was
doesn't
a
get specified.
yeah, maybe then that vice president chooses a new vice president, recently elected Congressman Bucky Barnes. What if Bucky becomes the president within like three movies? Could happen.
Wow.
All right, so President Ross ends up at the raft, which was a fun reuse of the raft also, I thought.
Yeah. There
Maximum
was
security
so much
prison type thing.
exposition, though. So much like
Hmm.
characters telling other characters
Hmm.
shit that's gone down that that character would already know for sure. It felt really, really compressed. A lot of information being told almost directly to the audience.
Hmm.
That's fair. Yeah, we do get some scenes with Betty here, so we're gonna get or is it just the one scene with Betty?
It's just,
It's just
I mean,
the
she's
I
one.
on
guess
the,
yeah, I guess
she's
he
on the
just
phone earlier,
that's what it was. Yep.
and
Okay.
then she appears, and I'm like, Liv Tyler, you are not that much of like an A-list actor or like a diva that you cannot be in this movie properly.
Right.
Like the movie really treats her with such reverence. And it's like,
Yeah.
come on, really?
It's a great point. Like you were in the Aerosmith Amazing video. We know who you are. Come on. Oh my gosh. All right. And then who gets the post-scene credit here?
Oh my God.
Who
What are we
does?
doing here at the end, people?
I don't know. I can't I can't summarize what happened in that very well. It is the most vague allusion to a kind of a
Yes.
threat.
Do you really think you're the only world? No, we've had Asgard since phase one. Like
Yeah.
this, there's such vague, awful bullshit. There's so many post-credit scenes in the last like 10 films that are just like, oh, big things coming. We're not going to say exactly
Yeah.
what. Like Shang-Chi is maybe the other worst offender. It's
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, all right, we're gonna need you. We won't see your character again for like 5 years, but
Yeah.
yeah, big stuff coming for sure. Stay tuned, audience. But I was glad that they referenced the others so that the Lost crossover will happen now.
Oh no.
That's going to be something that I can get behind personally.
Yeah. Evangeline Lilly be making double paychecks. It'd be great.
Exactly,
It'd be
exactly.
great. Any other Lost alum have been in the MCU?
I was thinking about that the
That's
other
a
day.
fun one.
I really can't think of anyone but Evangeline Lilly.
Okay.
Technically, Dominic Monaghan was in um, Wolverine Origins,
Oh God.
the original Deadpool was in. So I guess in a way that counts.
Interesting.
Oh, and Ken Lung, I might be saying that wrong. He was in the Eternals TV show. Oh, as was the Desmond actor.
Eternals TV show?
Ian Cusack. Yeah.
Inhumans?
Inhumans, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Thank you.
I
Sorry.
was like,
my
did
bad.
they make even more with that? I missed.
Nope. You're right. Inhumans. I meant Inhumans.
Henry
There
Cusack
there
was in what? You said?
in the Inhumans TV show because
Oh
both
wow,
were
okay.
filmed in Hawaii, so there were a lot of like
Oh,
Hawaii actors.
Oh,
the people
yeah.
that never left the beach
Thank you,
after Lost.
Perlmutter,
Exactly.
and your cost
Exactly.
savings.
That's hilarious. Yeah, it is. This is just. I don't really. It's. I don't. Yes, you're right. We've seen other worlds from our own universe. We've seen things from multiverses at this
Yeah.
point. And not to mention, like, why would somebody having an elaborately large brain have anything to do with them, like, necessarily being prescient about knowing these conflicting alternate realities that are eventually going to battle in some battle world someplace? Like, I don't care how
Agreed.
smart you are, you still wouldn't know that. Like,
Yeah.
it's,
And his smartness, he kept talking about like probabilities and like what probability, what table are you coming up with
yeah,
that like oh,
Yeah,
and this is where the
really.
multiverse comes in.
yeah.
And for someone who's so smart, his plan sure to hell didn't work. I mean, how many decades was he building that up? And it
Yeah, good point. Great point.
Yeah, very true. Very true. All right, and that's the film. So we're basically through that. We kind of have cut in a lot of this other stuff already, but anything on performances or reshoots or CGIs or cuts or even the future MCU impact that we haven't talked about?
I was actually impressed with Harrison Ford. I was concerned that that was going to be kind of
Ooh.
rough. Uh, in terms of a character transition, like the one scene with him with a mustache like kind of helped a little bit bridge the characters,
I
but
agree.
honestly
Mm.
for someone who needed to be a more significant character and have some some kind of an arc, like I think Harrison did all right.
Yeah, he brought it, which I appreciated. I noticed his hair is different in every single scene that he's in.
Oh,
So I don't know if that was a reshoot thing or what, but I was
that's
like,
funny.
every single scene, his hair is different. But I agree that he gave a really great performance. Um, and I hope that we see him again. I don't know that we will.
uh,
Everything I heard behind the scenes regarding him was 100% delightful. Like that was the highlight of when I would see behind the scenes spoilery type stuff about this film was everybody said like how much fun Harrison Ford seemed like he was having and like, because some actors join the MCU and they're like, this is bullshit in front of a green screen. And
mhm.
Yeah,
everything I read about him was like, this is so much fun. Like it's just this big imaginary playland and everybody's having a good time. And this is just a loose character that I'm playing. Like he wasn't taking it too seriously. And then like the other really fun thing was I don't know if you saw once some point in the whole timeline of this film was Anthony Mackie had done an interview where he said like Harrison Ford basically came to him behind the scenes and was like, "This is your movie, kid. Let me know what I can do to make you the star." And I was
Wow.
like, "That's
that's
awesome!" Like,
awesome.
yeah, super cool. Like Harrison Ford is usually pretty good to me, but sometimes I don't know, feel like Star Wars stuff like they had to like really
Yeah.
drag him out of the closet to be like, come do this one more scene with us. So it seemed like he was having a good time and was there to like genuinely put everybody else over, which I really loved. So
Yeah. I will introduce a game you can play with every Harrison Ford production though is Harrison Ford does not like to put on costumes, so it's how many times is he wearing a gray t-shirt in this show or in this movie? And
Oh, that's
the count
fun.
is pretty high for this movie.
that's fun. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else here on this one? I mean, so in terms of like three Marvel nerds talking about the future of Marvel, we got the Bucky connection,
Mhm.
Adamantium,
Question
obviously.
mark, question mark. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we know, you guys, I think, watch more trailers and know more stuff than I do. Do we know if there's a relationship between Thunderbolt Ross and the upcoming Thunderbolts movie? I know that like in the comic origins, there certainly is, but it doesn't feel like one thing is going to lead to another here.
So I'm gonna say like officially no. I can take some semi wild guesses if you want though, which is
If you okay, just I'm just looking for a general sense, I
oh
guess. So
so I have a feeling that the asterisk at the end of Thunderbolts is gonna be a semi connection into like some things in this movie.
okay,
Hmm.
okay, interesting.
Yeah, I was assuming, I think originally before Brave New World came out that it was going to be a very strong connection to Harrison Ford's
Yeah,
character to this. But yeah, thinking about where he ends this film at, I mean, he's kind of relinquished of power. He wouldn't be the person seemingly that would be sending these people on a mission, whatever that is in the movie. Um,
same.
yeah, I don't know. That is interesting. I kind of had made peace with that, and now thinking about how this movie ended, maybe not so much. I mean, there was a rumor for the longest time, and obviously this is not going to happen because we're 2 months out now, but there was a rumor for the longest time that they were going to change the title of the Thunderbolts movie very rapidly before it actually came out, and that Thunderbolts was a placeholder name to even hide the name of the movie from the audiences until it was very close to its time. But
Hmm.
I don't know if Dan's smiling because he heard that or he knows something.
No,
Give me
I
Feige's phone number, Dan.
I'll blink 3 times if I know something. I
It's
again,
perfect for a podcast.
I
Yeah.
have a suspicion. It does feel a lot like Endgame. Remember, right before, like, we didn't get the title for Endgame until the trailer came
Yeah,
out.
that's true.
I remember like YouTube coming up as like Avengers 4, and like
Mm.
finally at the end it gave the title. My rough guess is that we're not going to see it until like the middle towards the end of Thunderbolts. And if I have an honest, my honest guess is that they're going to go by a different name throughout most of the movie, and then towards the end, because they got that scene in the trailer where there were Red Guardians like we're the Thunderbolts, and I wouldn't be and the rest of the team's like, no, that's a crappy name or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if they go by another name. He suggests it, they all reject it, and then at the end they go, you know what, Red Guardian, you're right, we are the Thunderbolts, and like that's
Hmm.
like I think that would be a fun misdirect to be like,
Hmm.
no, it's not going to be, and at the very end you're like, no, it is the Thunderbolts.
Oh, okay. So you're like a double swerve almost. Interesting. Yeah.
Yes,
Interesting.
might be reading too much into it though,
Yeah, why would he say that in the trailer? Now I'm like, would he not be aware of the
because I'm
American
very
President?
president with that
Yeah.
nickname? Like,
I was so impacted by like the trailers for Winter Soldier that like took in pieces of dialogue from Pierce that were like two different characters, but it made it seem like he was talking to Captain America the whole time. So I'm
Hmm.
always highly
mm,
suspicious of, just because you're hearing this said and there's a character on film doesn't mean it's actually going to that character, or that like it's not going to like double back on it later.
tricky splicing and
All
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. It's a good question. Let's see. What else do we have in this one? Not much. What else you got?
I want to bring up
Hmm.
the Wakandan
Oh yeah.
wings for Sam, because it was an interesting way to kind of offset for the no super soldier serum. But
Yeah.
at the same time it felt like it was playing by the rules a little loose, especially in that last fight, where it's like it's invulnerable except for when Red Hulk can tear it apart. And
Yeah. Yeah. Good call.
I agree in general. I had in my notes, like one of the very first things that I noted to myself was like, oh, he's got vibranium wings that can do the energy absorption
Hmm.
and then repulsion thing. And I really like that. I thought that was a good touch and a good way to balance the fact that he doesn't have the serum.
exactly. But it
I
does.
Yes.
still think he needs a top to his helmet. Like it's just an insane weak point to have like the top of your head completely exposed and not
Yep.
protected at all when the rest of you is covered in vibranium.
Steve Rogers had his helmet off all the time. I'll push back on that one.
That's true. That's true. But somehow when the rest is covered and the top of his head is out, it's more glaring weakness. I don't
That
know.
was
Yeah.
that's Mackey's fault though. He behind the scenes was like, I'm not wearing that.
Oh,
And so they,
really?
yeah, so they had to change the costume because if you watch Falcon Winter Soldier, he did have a top part to his
Yeah.
helmet. And then in this one, he's like, it's too hot. I can't do it. So take it
No, he
off.
Yeah.
didn't.
End of Falcon and Winter
I
Soldier.
think at
The
the end,
outfit had it was kind of a strap that went about to his forehead and then went all the way around his head, leaving the very top of his head
Yeah, I'm
exposed.
talking about the top of the head. That's
Oh,
what I'm
Dave's
yeah.
worried
complaining
about the
about.
noggin. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Is important.
there's so many. Captain America movies where everyone who's firing a gun at Captain America is firing directly at the shield, and it makes me crazy. It's like shoot, his legs are right there. Shoot
Well,
underneath the
that's why
shield.
they gave that to Spider-Man in Civil War to be like, there, finally someone was like, go for the legs.
Oh my God, when Spidey says that thing doesn't obey the law of physics at all, I think of that quote all
Oh
the
my,
time
yeah.
whenever Cap throws the shield and it does something it shouldn't do.
It
Like
bounces
that
back or whatnot.
that lives in my head rent free for sure.
Yeah.
All right. What other notes do I have? There's no Marvel fanfare at the beginning of this
Yeah.
movie, leaving my
Mm.
wife going, "Is this the movie?" So that was fun. I missed that. I like Sam's first descent into the Mexico scene, where he's like, wait for it, and then the shockwave comes. I thought that was really cool.
Mhm.
But hitting the ground at that impact will absolutely destroy your knees. Like there's no way his
No, it's
knees
the Wakandan wings. They
can do
broke
that
it.
at all. Like the force of that
That's a
was
good
just
point.
insane for him to land on his feet.
Black Panther did almost the same thing. It's the vibranium that takes care of it.
I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
he doesn't have vibranium legs though, does he? I don't know.
I
Is
don't
it
think
just the
so.
wings that are vibranium? I thought it's just the wings, isn't it? Is it the whole
That's
suit?
enough. It'll absorb that.
Um,
Maybe.
no, I don't think so.
Vibranium
And
does everything. Don't take this from me.
the last note I have is about the
Oh yeah.
apartment that Sam and maybe Joaquin live
Oh
in
yeah.
that's just like has a 30-foot ceiling
It's
and a
awesome.
giant frosted glass like
For when they
stars and
need to fly
stripes
around inside.
motif. I
They bought the old
what?
Twitter headquarters. They got it at a good
What?
deal.
What is that setup? Who's paying for that? I I, I even
For
just put in a line about how
oh
like they
What
got
do you
set up with like
mean?
an
Sam
HQ or
does charity
something.
therapy. He can afford
well,
that.
I give Dave that point because since a major through line in Captain and the Winter Soldier was like Sam doesn't have money for his
He has no
family,
money. He can't
like
get
and
a
all of a
bank
sudden now he's
loan.
living at large.
Yeah, that made I was just baffled. There was
Maybe
absolutely no setup for
It's
that environment, for that setting. And it looked cool, but it was like, what is this? Where are they? What's happening right now?
my spin on that would be he's working either for or with the Air Force, so that's probably a hangar of some kind, like a repurposed hangar.
Okay. I don't know. I
nice
was just
try,
like, what's
Dan.
happening here?
What? That totally checks out.
I don't know. I think Joaquin's just loaded and
He might
we don't
be.
know about his jet. That's the whole thing.
Plus, admittedly, like if you needed a vessel to like easily rob some banks, those wings are like gonna allow you to make off with some serious cash.
Yeah, and no one will know who it was. Completely incognito.
That's
That's
when you blame the
right.
serpents. You just leave a whole bunch of serpents at the Caesar Drive.
Or just say, oh, it's brainwashed.
There you
Yeah,
go.
the leader can
Just
just brainwash anyone.
just have
Yeah.
that song I like ready to go in case you need to
Yeah.
like play it when somebody walks in.
Oh, I'm glad you brought up the song because I did catch. So the song was "I'm Mr. Blue," and in the Edward Norton film, that Samuel Stern, when they were doing their like chat program, it was Mr.
That's like
Green and Mr. Blue.
it was his code name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's like
okay.
that's slick. I can see that.
That's cool. I didn't catch that one. That's good.
But it was such a weirdly specific like detail considering they just MacGuffin the rest of it though. It's like, oh, it's flashy, it's mind controlly, and it's only affecting these six people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, why? Why would he, why would the leader not do that for like all the guards? It is like why the
Yeah,
people
really.
outside? It just
Yeah, really.
his machinate like obviously he's just way smarter than me. I don't understand all the different pieces
You
in
can
there.
see other worlds coming, Dan. Come
No,
on.
that's fair.
Somehow, maybe. But do you think we'll see him again?
I don't know.
Well,
I was
given the track record, it'll be another 20 years and
I was hoping with the focus on the raft at the end, I had a thought that the post-credit scene was going to be like a Sinister Six type of deal where you see like
yes,
all these old villains like in one
Ah,
place and some implication that they're all going to team up now.
especially since we had Abomination's She-Hulk, like why don't we have like a little clip of him in there or something like that, even if he's not
Well,
in the
then
raft,
Wong is just escaped him for reasons unknown.
for to be in the fights.
Was- Yeah,
I guess. But yeah, I don't know who feasibly be there, but I that's what I thought the post-credit scene was going to be when I saw that we were still at the raft, and then it was just absolute garbage instead.
Yeah, there's
fair
a lot of
enough.
potential there.
I know Tim Blake Nelson also had an interview where he said he had a lot of fun and he was actually very thankful to Marvel for bringing his character back after all those years because he didn't think he'd ever get to play him again. And he actually did enjoy his character's arc in the movie, he said. So he was another guy who had a lot of fun making the movie, I guess. So I guess the bottom line here is a lot of people had a lot of fun and it was just a bad process of putting it all together. But uh, that all being said, I'm really curious what you guys will rate this one because it's
Yeah.
kind of all over the place. With Dave's scale, this must be like a point 3 or something. So who would like to go first here? Rating Captain America,
I'll go
New World
first. So
Order. No, Brave New World.
either or, just edit, just like the
Red
theme of the
Hulk.
movie. I'm gonna say like a 5 out of 10. So again, I really went in expecting to, for me, the worst MCU production that they've done is Secret Invasion. And so it's
Oh, by
like,
far.
I'd
I was
forgotten
like,
about
oh,
that. Thank you.
this might be a crank or two above that. That's I was going in like steeling myself for that, and since it wasn't, I'm like, okay, well, like it's kind of I rank it similar to something like Iron Man 3, where like it's there, I understand the pieces, but it's the point at which in a rewatch I'm pulling out my phone.
Ooh, Iron Man 3, I think, has gotten better in my eyes when I've rewatched it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it has, yeah. It also has the hottest cast, but that's a whole nother topic for off the air.
I usually skip Iron Man 3 if I'm doing a run through, to be honest.
Wow.
There we
This
go.
it's just the main point is that he gives up the suits and then in the next movie he's just back at it. Like anyway.
Yeah.
Sounds like the next episode of this we need to do.
What's
Iron
that?
Man 3?
Yeah,
Just go
Classic or
back to Iron
crap?
Man
Iron
3?
Man 3.
Hey man, I'm on board. I have stuff to say, sure. Um, so do you have a numerical? Oh, you did. You did. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
five
Okay,
out of 10.
my bad. Okay, so I really liked that it connected past events and characters that had been kind of left on the wayside, that fans didn't think we would maybe ever get back to again. It really bugs me when MCU productions don't really tie into anything else in the universe because that's a lot of the fun for me is like just the different links and the fact that it is one big canon altogether. So this already gets points just for doing that, in my opinion. I really liked a lot of the action scenes. I thought um, they were enjoyable to watch, especially to casual fans who don't care so much about all the connections to other things, as long as it's entertaining. Um, so that was good. I wish that it had like a little more fun or more jokes. It doesn't have to be like a quip every other line like some of the movies are. But Cody, you talk about like the actors having a lot of fun. I don't feel like that really read. And to be
Yeah.
honest, that's my gripe with a lot of the Captain America movies. That's why I don't like them as much as other fans because they're not as outwardly fun as some of the others. So, but I went in with low expectations based on everything I heard, and it mostly met those expectations. I guess I'm gonna give it like a 3 out of 10. Which again, I'll reiterate. For me, that means that like I think it's better than 30% of other MCU content, but not as good as 70%. That's kind of how I work it in my head. So I'm going with that.
All right. Well, first of all, to all our listeners, I just want to apologize. Watch Iron Man 3 so you know who the little kid is at Tony's funeral. So let's just move on from there. And here's the thing. Why does Disney not just offer Universal like $10 million to buy the Hulk off of them? So this could have been a Hulk movie, and then we could have had
Yes.
the whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's a bizarre setup with distribution rights, but it seems like Universal is like making shit off of the fact that they're not making any Hulk movies. So like, just sell it and get something for it.
Yeah, that was another cameo I was secretly hoping for is some kind of Bruce reference and something, a phone call, an email, something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And again, like, why not, right? Like,
Yeah.
something. Do you think they could redo Spider-Man No Way Home with like the three Hulks we've had now? And that could
Mhm.
be like a scene that could be like, no, no, the other Hulk.
Yeah, yeah,
What?
yeah.
Eric Bana? What?
But
Dun, 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 dun.
I don't know if we're going to talk about the leaked concept art, but I have a feeling that Secret Wars is going to be
Oh,
like, oh, you like No Way Home? Well, get ready.
I think that one's gonna be bonkers. But
Yeah.
all right, wrapping this up here. I didn't have a lot of expectations to go into this, although just as a huge Marvel fan, I was like, I'm gonna go see it anyway. I do think the plot is messy, and I think the marketing for this movie would have improved it immensely. But I do again, I can't offer them a solution as to the corner they were in, how they could have painted themselves out of that, because, like I said, like their two most interesting characters were vital to not know who they were going into the movie. But if you do that, like you also have nobody you can market as like the antagonist of the movie. So you can't really like show a trailer of like Sam flying around. I guess you could have shown a trailer of him flying around Japanese jets. I don't know, but like you got to have a villain so people are like excited.
Yeah.
But anyway, uh, just kind of like going into it, and I'm going to treat it more as just like a popcorn movie, and just went in and there were parts that were silly and didn't make a whole lot of sense, but it was still fun. I still had fun watching it. There were some fun scenes in it. So I'm going to give this one like mm, probably a 6.5, which is, the highest score tonight, but reminding everybody of my scale that I rate these on as well. 6.5 for me means I enjoy it more than 65% of other movies I could have watched. So, and to me, that would definitely be a true statement still. So there's that. So I don't know the total on that divided by yet, but it's not great. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, you're probably not going to, but it should be on Disney Plus relatively soon. So
Mhm.
there is that. Any closing thoughts here from the crowd?
I'm really hoping Thunderbolts is a huge step up.
I'm looking forward to that one. It seems fun to me in a the Suicide Squad kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. I mean, most definitely. Well, I don't know. I don't think it'll be as good as Fantastic Four, but maybe I'm just putting my expectations too high for Fantastic Four as well. We'll see. I feel like that
Yeah.
one's got to hit though. Like if that one doesn't do well, they might be in trouble.
I would assume Feige's like sending all the writers to Fantastic Four, being like, "You write the crap out of that thing. There's already been
Yeah.
two attempts. Like, you have to do this right." It feels like Thunderbolts is a little bit more almost like pre-written because, like, look, you're gonna get these people together. They're just such huge characters. Just play them off each other, and that's
Yeah.
yeah, like Davey said earlier. It doesn't have to be super quippy. I think Thunderbolts is gonna be really quippy, but I'm
Yeah,
here for it. Those people quipping together, and especially like it's all the smart mouths like going after each other. It's gonna
Yeah.
be
yeah.
great.
I
Remember,
completely agree.
remember how funny and witty like characters like Ghost and Taskmaster were in their original movies? I can't wait. It's gonna be fantastic. They were just
Point
known
taken.
for so many one-liners. It's gonna be great. No, it's gonna be good. That looks like a fun movie because even those characters, I think they're gonna do better justice too. So, well, I did do the math here. It comes out to a 4.83 average, which exactly ties the Rotten Tomatoes rating for this movie.
Wow.
Granted, we used some different scales for that, but we came up with the same number in the end. So, there's that. So, yeah. I feel like I just had one more thing I was gonna say about Secret Wars, but I can't think what it was now. So, oh well.
It wasn't the leak stuff, right?
Oh no,
Concept
you know
art.
what? It wasn't Secret Wars. It was that they are introducing Sentry in Thunderbolts, and thank you for reminding me. Not only is that super powered character joining the MCU, but you reminded me of Secret Invasion, where we have Gaia, the strongest character in the MCU, that's just sitting out there
Yeah.
someplace now as well. So,
Never to be seen again, we
No, no,
hope.
17 years later with a
yeah,
with a height dysfunctional head, and
yeah,
it'll be great.
it
She's
would.
still got the Drax arm.
Hmm.
Are you an X-Men fan too, Dan?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It would be. They couldn't really do it cleanly, but it would be fun if it actually did take them like 5 movies to actually drill into the giant celestial.
Yeah,
And then
right.
when they finally did, they found out that it was basically like the X-Men Krakatoa plotline, and all the mutants are
Oh,
like hiding on the island in there, like in their little
right.
cubby and stuff, watching. Like the scene from the Eternals where they were like just kind of living and watching TV and stuff
Yep.
inside, but that'd be kind of
I'd be
funny.
down for that.
Yeah, I hope Secret Wars is awesome and just wipes the slate clean of a lot of these loose ends that are out there.
I would
That'd be so
imagine so.
epic. Oh my gosh. Just kill them all off. Again, not Harry Styles, though. We need to keep him alive. Might need him for diplomacy these days. You never know. So let's keep him out there. All right. Anything else tonight, gents?
Nothing from me.
That's it.
That's a fun one.
Yep, agreed. Well, great. I'm glad we got to go back and do that one. So that's it then, I guess. This is Cody, that's Dan, that's Dave. This has been Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing's review of Brave New World, and we're out of here. We'll see you guys.
Bye.
Right?